Hi, I'm Dr. Morris, and I just wanted to provide some group feedback for you for this week. First off, I wanted to give a shout out to the whole group because you all are doing a phenomenal job on your journal club discussions. I really enjoy reading them. I enjoy how you share different situations with your classmates and how you're able to apply the weekly concepts to those situations and hopefully what you're taking away from those situations. And so keep up the good work. Kudos to you all. While I would love to be able to comment publicly on what each of you are doing in the journal clubs and do a shout out to each of you, each of the 40 students in the course. That's really not possible because I'm sure you don't want to listen to me for 40 minutes. And so instead of going that route, I'm going to go ahead and just share with you what I think are some of the themes from this week's discussion forum, as well as, and I consider those themes to also be my pearls of wisdom. And so maybe next week I'll do a top 10 list or something. That could be a good thing to do as well. But anyhow, for this week we're going with themes and pearls of wisdom. And so the first theme that I identified from the group was really the group's ability to recognize that groupthink is a process and not an outcome. And so that's an important distinction to make because I think a lot of times people think of groupthink as an outcome and not being a process, but it really is a process about how we're thinking or how we're not thinking in a more broad sense. The group also made the important point of recognizing that sometimes you can have groupthink situations that have a more positive outcome, and other times they can have a negative outcome. The real risk with groupthink is just that you're not looking at the problem that you're tasked with trying to solve from all of the multiple different dimensions, and so you could be lacking some important information as you're going about making that solution to the problem. Some of the key factors that lead to groupthink include the pressure to conform. A lot of you really talked about that, wanting to fit in, or the desire for cohesiveness, or the desire to avoid conflict. Sometimes some of you spoke about fear, that you may not have spoke up in certain situations out of fear or because you lacked confidence in your knowledge or your abilities. And what I wanted to encourage you is to give yourself recognition for the knowledge that you bring to the table and recognize that even when you might be new to the situation or more of a novice, that you still have so much to offer, and that even being able to look at a solution from a novice perspective lends strength, and it gives a different viewpoint than someone who might be a very experienced individual who's looking at that same problem. Sometimes you can see things that someone who's more experienced can't. The other area that the group just totally excelled in was identifying strategies to prevent groupthink. Some of the major strategies identified were valuing diversity of thought, recognizing the contribution of all team members, requesting and listening to input from key stakeholders, and the importance of being able to speak up in situations, or what I refer to as finding my voice. I'm going to speak a little more about the part about listening to key stakeholders. Many of you shared situations that involved groupthink that led to negative outcomes, where either the individuals tasked with coming up with solutions to the problem either A, didn't ask for feedback from all of the key stakeholders, and usually it was the frontline employees who were left out of the dialogue, or either B, if they did seek feedback from those key stakeholders, they didn't really listen to the feedback, and there was no evidence that that feedback influenced the final outcome or the final solution to the problem. And so I'd say that's a takeaway point, is how important it is for us to listen to the key stakeholders as well. One of your colleagues introduced the idea about being a non-promotional leader versus a promotional leader. And so a non-promotional leader is one in which if they're convening a group to look at a particular problem, that they will go around the room and ask for everybody else's feedback first before giving their own feedback on the problem at hand. And that is in contrast to a promotional leader. Promotional leader is going to walk in that meeting or that room, and they're going to start off by first giving their opinion about what they think the solution is to the problem. And then they may ask for other people's feedback. But by doing that and setting the context where they're going first, they're kind of setting up that they're making it more likely that a situation for groupthink would occur, because they're kind of taking away the likelihood that others will come up with other types of opinions that might vary from theirs. So as you're thinking about approaches to avoid groupthink, I would encourage you to embrace that role of being a non-promotional leader and really making sure that you're getting feedback from everybody else first before you offer yours, and that you're really hearing what everyone has to say. And then lastly, I'd like to pose to you one of the most thought-provoking questions that I've read this week, and that is, how do you respond to controversial, let me start over. How do you respond to controversial questions when alone versus when you are in a group? And does your answer change? So kind of ponder that question as you go through your routine this week, and I'd love to hear back from you as to what your thoughts are for that question. So in conclusion, I'd say keep up the great work. I am so proud of you as a group and a class. You're just doing an outstanding job in this course, and I am really looking forward to reading your discussions next week. So take care, have a wonderful week.